Oh, I should get this, shouldn't I?
We're live.
What's going on, Bulls Nation? We have got a emergency pod. CHGO Bulls, the news we've all been waiting for all summer long. Josh Giddey and the Bulls reach a deal. 4 years, 100. We'll break it down next. Let's go. What's going on, Bulls Nation? Welcome into the CHGO Bulls podcast. Coming to you live from our studios here in West Loop, downtown Chicago. I'm Peck, Bulls_Peck. That's Big Dave. Bam, bam. BAWL Sports. And joining us remotely because we got a breaking news and an emergency pod an hour and 15 before our usual start time. Will Gottlieb joins us on the sidebar. Perfectly coiffed Will_Gottlieb. King of the controls, Joey C. Emma hanging out. Katie support, also remotely. Yeah. We got everybody here. Boom. Moments ago, Josh Giddey, the deal. Shams Charania broke the news. Restricted free agent Josh Giddey has reached agreement with the Bulls on a 4-year, $100 million contract to re-sign. Agent Daniel Moldovan of Lighthouse Sports Management told ESPN on Tuesday. Hooray for agents and agencies getting shout-outs. The deal is fully guaranteed. Contains no player option, no team option. The Bulls announced the contract on Tuesday, but per team policy, did not disclose the terms.
Oh, no.
Dave, your immediate reaction, then we'll get to you. Go. Everybody in the chat, thanks for joining us. Hit the like button. We'll get to some of y'all's reactions as we move forward. Dave.
Well, my first reaction is what it always is when a player signs. Congratulations, sir, on getting your money. Shout out to you for getting your paper, for real. 25, I kept saying was the max for me. I didn't think they should go over that 25. I'm a little surprised it got to 25, though. I am a little surprised it got there. But the Bulls had all the leverage, for this. But the one part of that leverage was they truly want Josh Giddey. And they truly wanted Josh Giddey on their team. And he is a vital and important piece for their team. I've said on this show in the past week, that he's probably the most important player for their offense because everything starts and revolves around Josh Giddey and what he does with the basketball. He's bringing it up. He's setting the plays. He's getting everyone involved. It's his offense, man. And this contract shows this. This contract proves this. It's him. It's on him, and it's forever on him for the next 4 years. So now this is going to come with a whole heap of expectations that will be placed upon those Australian shoulders of Josh Giddey, and we'll see how he handles that. We'll get into that and break that down further. But yeah, my first thought is congratulations to Josh Giddey for getting his contract. I'm shocked that I'm a little shocked. I shouldn't say shocked, but I'm a little surprised that it got to 25. I'm even more surprised it wasn't a player or a team option on that final year because the Bulls always, kind of have done that. So I'm a little surprised at that. But what that shows me is they're committed. They're committed to Josh Giddey. So he's the one they're going down with on the ship. So either this will sail or they will go down with the band on the ship, bro. But, yeah, congratulations to Josh. Time to get training camp started.
Goat, are you surprised or is this where you thought they would land?
I guess I feel I'm kind of of two minds. I feel like this was the compromise that always made the most sense for both parties in a vacuum, right? We've talked for, I believe it's been 71 days since the start of free agency, about how there's no money out there for these restricted free agents. Cam Thomas just took the qualifying offer, Jonathan Kuminga, Quentin Grimes. Those guys are still waiting on the marketplace to see if they can get their deals. We knew that Josh wanted $30 million and that the Bulls wanted $20 million. And so a $25 million deal was, splitting the difference. It was a 50-50 compromise. And it makes sense. In a vacuum, I think the way that Giddey ended his season is probably worth a little bit more than that. The way that he played for the first 50 games was worth probably a little bit less than that. But with these rookie extensions, you are always baking in a little bit of the element of progress and improvement. And so in a vacuum, I don't hate this deal at all. This is kind of the number where I felt like this was the most I would possibly be willing to give him, all things considered. And so in that sense, like, I think it's fine. We've talked about the 3 years versus 4 years versus 5 years. We've talked about team options, player options, flat, ascending, descending. Like, we can get into all that stuff. But at the end of the day, like, this is kind of the deal that made the most sense, even if it's probably not the best deal that the Bulls could have gotten.
Yeah, we talked a lot about where this would end up over the entire offseason as the restricted free agency, not just for Josh Giddey, but a couple of other notable names elsewhere in the league dragged on and on and on. Josh Giddey is now player number 2 on that list of 4 RFAs to sign his deal finally. But we had all the time in the world as Bulls fans to talk about what made the most sense. And Dave, let me just say right now, I'm sorry. The qualifying offer dream. It was a roller coaster, man. It really was.
He didn't talk about qualifying. And you're lucky.
There was a moment in time this offseason when we thought, no way, no chance in hell is that happening. Yeah. And then the further we moved along and we heard from whether it was Fisher or Bobby Marks or all these various people, was like, this is possible. And then one of those other 4 RFAs did end up signing that 1 year prove it deal. I thought maybe this is where Giddey and the Bulls land. If he was, and his agency was, dead set on that $30 million figure, which the Bulls had no reason to give him. None whatsoever. He didn't have the leverage to demand that money. And so meeting in the middle at 25 average annual salary, it did seem like the most likely outcome. But even just as recently as last week when we got the update of 4 years and 88, 22 million per, we're like, okay, that's a bit more. Mm-hmm. They've raised it from that 20 spot where the Bulls started. Mm-hmm. I feel like they maybe could have held out and stuck with 88 instead of going up to 100. The part to me that is maybe even more fascinating than the money, and especially with no option for either side, is the length. 4 years. We also talked about, hey, what about a 3-year deal? Yeah, we did. Gives the Bulls and Josh Giddey the opportunity to re-up if they like the way things are going, or to start fresh on a shorter timeline. Yeah, very true. The 4 years was kind of like, again, they hit the max of what I was willing to give on all this, as far as the years was concerned, as far as the money I was concerned. Because my thing with the money was, I was like, you want to be a little more respectful. I know in business, and what it was looking like, he had no leverage for the Chicago Bulls to be like, yeah, here's $25 million. I was cool with it just out of the respect of it. To be like, because you want him, you're building everything about this dude. You traded your best asset for this young man. You obviously want him to be the guy for your basketball team. So you can give him a little bit, on that. Like, here you go, man. It's cool. Like, it's all love right there. I completely understand where everybody was like, absolutely not. Pay that dude exactly what he should get, maybe 23, and then we'll stop there. So I get all of that, and I feel all of that. But the Bulls, I think the leverage, and Goat and I talked about it on the show last week, the leverage that he had is the Bulls don't want to lose. Mm-hmm. The Bulls aren't here to tank. The Bulls aren't here to do it that way. They want to win. And without Josh Giddey on the floor, I don't know if that's a better option for you to win games. So you want to win games with your guy in your way. And that's your offense. That's your starter. That's your, face, right now of your offense is that. That's your international face also. That's the guy who hit the half-court shot that went around the world as far as that clip is concerned. So he's the one. He's the one you want. He's the one you need. That's a song, by the way. So, yeah, I get why they did the 25. I don't know how far, Joey C, I would go to get to that, 25. If it was like last day and I was just like, okay, man, fine. We're splitting hairs over $1 million. All right, fine. But I don't know, man. I'm happy for him. Like, that's all that keep coming back to is I'm really happy for him because he truly acted like he wanted to be here. He wanted to be a part of this organization. He wanted to be a part of this team. Again, part of that is because nobody else is going to give him that opportunity, to do everything that he wants to do. But still, in fact,
he wanted to be here. And he wanted to be here in Chicago. Go ahead, Joe.
Well, I was just going to say, and this is a question really to the GOAT too, as well as they're being very clear that this is the core that's moving forward. Yeah. I think a lot of people would have liked this number at 80. We got a report last week that it was 88.
Yes.
Now it's at 100. I think his camp probably wanted 30. So there's got to be somewhere in between where maybe both sides were able to come to agreement. My question for GOAT is, though, and a lot of people are saying this in the chat, this is still a tradable contract in 3 or 4 years. I don't want to project out that far because I want success for the Bulls and for Josh Giddey.
Sure.
But is this a good deal for the Chicago Bulls, not just the player too as well in terms of maybe roster flexibility and roster construction in the years to come?
Yeah, I think that it's a good question because a lot of times you think about things in a vacuum or what it means as a result of the specific negotiations. You just mentioned there had to be a middle ground, and I actually don't know if I agree with that. There didn't need to be a middle ground because, to Dave's point, nobody else was going to offer him anything close to this. It was really take the qualifying offer at $11 million or take $20 million a year. And for some reason, they went up to 25. So I think that's the first piece is losing the negotiation on the margins. Did they pay him 30, which is what he reportedly wanted? No. So I guess that can be considered a win. But there was really no reason to go above 20. And then they went to 22, and now they're going to 25. So to me, that's a loss on the margins. And maybe that ends up not mattering because, to your point, this deal turns into one that is very tradable. But I think that just is putting the cart a little bit before the horse. The Bulls don't want to trade Giddey. They want him here. They want him to be the cornerstone piece, as Shams wrote in his article. But at the same point, you do need to be thinking about this through the perspective of is this a deal that other teams will value around the league? And I think ultimately it just comes down to how well Giddey plays. If he looks like he did at the end of the year, then yeah, it's a value contract. If he looks like he did in the first part of the year and he's a sixth man, then you're overpaying him. And that's the crux of the issue is you just don't know how good he is because he hasn't been able to do it consistently. And so I think they're making a bet that he looks more like the version of himself that he did after the All-Star break. And that's just a risk that I probably wouldn't feel comfortable with, especially knowing that there wasn't any competition out there for him. And so, yes, you do have to think about it in that way. Yes, you do have to think about it in terms of the business and the people and the relationships and trying to get a deal done, compromising, finding common ground. But at the end of the day, you're worth what somebody is willing to pay for you. And nobody was willing to pay Giddey $20 million a year. And so I do think they lost the negotiation, even if it turns out to be a fair value contract, which again, I think that it is. I think right now it's relatively fair. It's in the realm of fair. And it'll kind of depend on is it ascending or descending? I hadn't even seen that report that you guys mentioned about the guarantees and the options and things like that until you just said it. So I imagine news will still come out about this. And then the other piece that, I just want to bring up now, but we don't really need to get to it right away is how this affects the books and the cap space plan for next year and long-term deals for Kobe and Io, if those are going to come. Do you want to line those up? And if so, you're giving Kobe and Io 3-year deals. And is that really a way to get good value? Or are you going to extend those beyond what Giddey has? And now, you're making it harder for yourself to become a cap space team again in 3 or 4 years time. So a lot of questions still to answer with this. In a vacuum, I think it's probably a little bit of an overpay for where I would feel comfortable, and a lot of an overpay for what the marketplace was. But I do have optimism for Giddey based on not just the way that he played, but the improvements, process-oriented improvements that he made in his game down the stretch, that he can continue to get better and prove that this is not only a value deal, but a team-friendly deal.
Yeah, the overpay and whether or not you think it is an overpay goes back to what you were saying a minute ago, Goat, which is which version of Josh Giddey do you believe is the version of Josh Giddey the Bulls are going to get this coming season over the span of this 4-year contract? The 22, soon to be 23-year-old who gets better and better and plays more like the back end of this past season version of Giddey. And the Bulls were, of course, going to point that out in their press release, mentioning Giddey's final 30 games where he averages 19, 9, and 8 dimes, shooting 49 from the field, 43.5 from 3.
Whoa.
If that's the player you think you're getting, 25 mil, looking pretty good.
Yeah, not bad.
We got to knock out a couple of ads right now. When we come back on the other side, we will dive right back into this conversation and get to some of y'all's thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button while you listen to some ads. More Josh Giddey reaction after this. friends at RC Cola.
Yes.
Let me just take a swig real quick. A
Oh,
little
go
Josh
ahead.
Giddey contract swig.
Oh, go ahead. Taste Chicago right there, ladies and gents. Punched in the third.
Goes down
hair on your
smooth.
chest. Some things in the world have gone soft. Everybody gets a trophy for going to the play-in tournament. The Bulls celebrate that nonsense. Everything needs to be bubble wrapped and safety secured. Soda used to have some kick. Now it's all about pretty colors and easy fizz. But RC Cola is not a soft drink. It's just damn good cola.
Yes.
It's the original cola that doesn't fold under pressure. RC is an OG cola in a world of spineless soft drinks. No trends, no gimmicks, no glow up. RC hasn't changed its stripes since 1905 because they don't have to. It's the same bold, crisp flavor it's always been. RC Cola tastes like a punch in your thirst hole. Stock up for all of your end of summer parties, back to school celebrations, football Sundays, watching the game. RC is the move for whatever you're doing. Do yourself a favor. Grab some RC at your local store.
Yeah, RC Cola. You know, whether it's winter, summer, spring, or fall, plumbing emergencies happen. Electrical emergencies happen. And that's why you should be calling our people at Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric, y'all. Because at Four Seasons, they guarantee same-day installation for all your heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical needs and generator needs with no extra charge for nights, weekends, or holidays. You can save up to $4,000 on furnaces and comfort systems with Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. And since today is getting a little bit chilly, how about furnaces that start at $39 a month? And how about a furnace AC combo for $57 a month? Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric has been serving Chicagoland for over 50 years. Your trusted local experts are Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. It's electric. Visit fourseasonsheatingcooling.com for all their special offers and money-saving coupons. That's fourseasonsheatingcooling.com. Because for all the right reasons, Peck.
Call 866-4 Seasons.
Oh, Joey, see you on
Joey.
back. Well
Joey.
done. Well done.
We roll along here, CHGO Bulls emergency pod on this Tuesday afternoon as the Josh Giddey contract news finally breaks. Thank you for being here with us. If you're hanging out on YouTube, hit that like button. And speaking of Four Seasons, Dave,
Yeah.
let's take that temp. Time to take the temp. Brought to you by our trusted local experts at Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. Visit fourseasonsheatingcooling.com for all the special offers and money-saving coupons.
Mhm.
That's fourseasonsheatingcooling.com. Let's take the temp of our fellow Bulls fans in the chat and how people are feeling about it.
Why not?
Angel Zapata said really would have liked a team option on that final year.
Yeah,
I think it was unlikely that they were going to get that.
fair.
It's something that I thought as a Giddey skeptic, if you want to just label me that way, fine. I got no problem with that. I am one.
Yeah.
That if you could, from the Bulls side of things, having that leverage, get yourself a team option, 2 with an option on 3,
Yeah.
or a 1-and-1, while you figure out whether or not Josh Giddey is in fact a cornerstone of the future of your franchise, which is the word that Shams Charania just used in his report, writing up this new contract breaking. I didn't see it. That's not like Lonzo, I think, was a special case.
Yeah.
Because of his injury history and the fact that they paid him 4 years, $20 million average annual salary, and he barely played through that, and then rewarded him with a 1-and-1 deal with more guaranteed money, despite the fact that he got hurt yet again.
Yeah.
It's a special case.
Yeah.
I saw it very unlikely that they were going to get that team option.
It was just that we've seen him give it out so much, to other players and things like that. So
The player option.
the player option, I'm used to seeing that. We saw Andre Drummond, walk around with the player option. We saw Torrey Craig with one. We know Javon Carter has got a player option as well. I believe Vooch had one too on the player option also. So team option though, I did want that, to protect themselves in some kind of way. If you're going to come up in money, then I would think you would want that protection. But again, this just it's not a bad, terrible deal, but it also, again, shows me they're all in. That's what it tells you. Like when you're putting no parameters and nothing else on this, you're all in on Josh Giddey for at least the next 2 to 3 years, just to be realistic about it. If stuff, doesn't go well, it doesn't go great. You can answer this better than I can. It feels like it's still a tradable contract that teams would, still be willing to kind of take this on and taking on Josh Giddey along with the age that he'll be. He'll be 26, am I right, after this?
Yep.
So you know, he still will either just be touching his prime or, you know, just going directly into it. So yeah, man, I can see why the Bulls would do it this way. And again, I can't stress enough how they just wanted to pay him, you know, because optically of what it looked like, they didn't want to just shortchange him or cheat him like that. In their eyes, I'm not saying it's a bad business decision to give him less than 25, but optically, they wanted it to look a little bit better than we're going to give you a little more than what we gave Patrick Williams. I think optically they wanted to look at that a little bit differently for the dude that they are talking about is the most important piece on their offense.
Yeah, and I think like the more I'm thinking about this, I feel like it's not really a tradable contract. And not because I think that it's like overpay, it's such a overpay, but more because like if he's playing so well that it is a value contract, like the Bulls aren't going to trade him because they're going to want to keep building around him. And if they do end up wanting to trade him, it's because he's underperforming and therefore the contract is underwater. And so I do agree with what you're saying, Dave, that like this is going all in on Giddey. I'm going to talk a little bit about like the years piece of this because I think that's an interesting component. To me, like I feel like ideal situation would have been Bulls getting the longest term deal possible at the lowest possible number. I imagine Giddey wanting to, and I guess the reason I say that is because whether the cap goes up 5% or 7% every year, it is going to be going up. And so as long as the contract itself doesn't exceed the rate at which the salary cap is rising, it will be a better value as a percentage of the cap the longer it goes out. So if it's 20, I just did the math here while we were talking. The deal is going to start at, if it is 8% annual raises, it will start at 22.3 million, which is 14.4% of the cap, and it will rise up to 27.7 million in the final year of the deal, which is 14.6% of the cap. If it were to stay flat, it would be a smaller percentage of the cap each of those years. If it were to be descending, it would go down exponentially as a percentage of the cap. And so you add value to the deal the longer it goes out. If they would have picked up that fifth year, that would have been even more true because the cap continues to rise, the contract stays flat or goes down, and all of a sudden it's a mid-level exception type of contract by the end of it. And so I do think there's potential for it to be traded in that sense, just because like it will be not a huge number relative to the cap. But I just think like in terms of the Bulls wanting to actually move it, they're probably not going to, assuming he is playing that well. And for Giddey on his side, like I imagine he wanted a shorter term deal because he feels like, hey, I'm getting a pay cut based on what I wanted. So let me get back on the marketplace. I'm going to take 3 years, but I want, 75 million or whatever that number gets to. If you want to give me $25 million a year, then I want to get back on the market so that I can sign another big deal when as soon as possible while guaranteeing as much money as possible for the short term. So I think, again, this is a sign that there was real compromise here. And again, I just don't think the Bulls necessarily needed to do that. So I guess where I'm landing as we're talking about this is like, I probably am a little bit more optimistic than some about Giddey and a little bit more pessimistic than others. I feel like I'm kind of in the middle on him. And I feel like in a vacuum, this deal could end up being good. It could end up being like slightly negative. But to me, it's like about the negotiation, the process there, and feeling like the Bulls could have worked harder, squeezed harder, done better on this to try to make it as team friendly as possible, whether that included an option. You guys were talking about the player options. Like they got a team option on Trey Jones when they just re-signed him. They got one on Lonzo Ball when they signed him after the deadline. So like they understand that there is value in that. And maybe again, that was a compromise of like, we want a player option, we want a team option. Let's just do it straight 4 years guaranteed. And I just feel like they could have found ways to squeeze this into the most team-friendly version of a deal possible. Another thing I was thinking is like, people were talking about the qualifying offer and why it would have been beneficial for him to take that. And the rebut to that was like, okay, if you're offering him $20 million, that's only $9 million more than the qualifying offer. Well, they could have started the deal and did a descending contract. And if they would have done that, it would have started at 27.7 million. And now, it's a $16 million raise off of what he was making. But you're still going down and getting the better value there. So I just feel like there were like levers that they could have pulled in these negotiations to make it better for Giddey while also making it even more, palatable for themselves. Like if you're going to give him this number, like get the option or make it longer or, have it descending so that it's a better value as the deal goes on. And so this like flat deal for 4 years, to me, there's not a lot of benefits to the team other than hopefully he plays really well and exceeds it.
Goat, it feels like you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong, it feels like you're saying it's a good deal, but not a great deal.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair to say. I mean, I would say I'm not mad at it. Like I feel like it could end up being a value contract. And if Giddey just continues to play at the level that he was, like it probably is. And so I do feel like there's room for it to gain value for the team. But I feel like there's always more they could have done to make it even better. And just felt like they kind of came up short there.
Speaking of that, the other way you can phrase it, the Giggity's in the chat said 25 mil per, not bad, not great. It's okay, which is such a Bulls thing to be. Just okay. Yeah, I agree with you, Giggity. Joel Perez just saying, pow. Deanna Marie saying about damn time. Jebediah saying when Zach left, Giddey was able to be more on-ball reps, which is better for him since he's his best skill is passing and driving. Not a great shooter. Also pointing out that Scotty Barnes got the max and Giddey was better than him last year. This is a steal. Giddey better than Barnes, I would say, is up for debate as far as production between those two players last year. Matthew Scorch saying decent deal, but I think this team has a low ceiling, parentheses first round exit, with Giddey as a primary ball handler. I would agree with you, Matthew, but Travis is saying a guy averaging a triple-double is limiting the team's roster ceiling. What a world we live in. Well, you're talking about him averaging a triple-double for 20, 25 game span of a season.
Yeah.
If I, as a Giddey skeptic, watch him average a triple-double for a full season, and the Bulls are a winning team, above 500, going to the actual big boy playoffs, then yeah, that's a steal of a contract. Speaking of taking the temp on things, I'm told from our production crew, we have a Josh Giddey social media post.
Ooh.
How is Josh Giddey feeling right about now? Okay.
Locked in.
Giddey.
He's feeling locked in.
Waiting to go on the sidelines.
Right.
You got the lock in emoji,
Clank, clank.
the hands hearts emoji, because young people. Okay, there you go. Josh Giddey. He's bought in, Dave.
He's in, man. He's in, and he's happy. I'm telling you, he's very happy. Of course, he's happy. He's $100 million richer, so obviously he's very happy. But I think he's very happy to be here in Chicago. I really, really think that he enjoys being here in Chicago, and it helps his brand. It helps him. And doing it it's more of an international level when you play for the Chicago Bulls. It just is like that, man. So, yeah, it does wonders for him in that sense. But now the spotlight's on him for sure. It's on him. Game one. It's on him, bro. Game one. I've continued to say that so many of the Bulls questions will be answered very, very early. Add this one to the list. Game one. They're going to be all in on Josh Giddey.
A few more comments before we go to our second break. Shout out to our guy, Joel Hernandez, who said, I think it's a fair contract for both sides. You want a player to be happy playing for your franchise as well.
Yeah.
Speaking of Giddey being, bought in, locked in, that's another thing that came up a lot from the people in our chat, people discussing it on Twitter, the discourse of, well, you have the leverage on the team side, but if you lowball him, then if he is forced to sign it or, begrudgingly signs it, then he's going to be cranky.
Yeah.
And even to the furthest extent of, you know what, I'm taking the qualifying offer, screw you for not paying me. And then he balls out and leaves. And I saw somebody in the chat talking about that earlier.
Yeah.
Then that's like, managerial malpractice.
Yeah, sure.
If that scenario plays out.
We'll see.
We'll see. Hit that like button if you didn't do it during the first ad break. We'll knock out a couple more ads, come back and get more of our reaction from the Josh Giddey contract. Breaking news. It finally happened. Hit the like for Josh Giddey. Going to the bank today.
Ching, ching.
Today's show is brought to you by Eye on the Ball. Are you an athlete? If you are, good for you. I need a backy out of me.
Shout out to
But here's a
Joey.
question for you athletes. Are you serious about leveling up your game? Because the right coach can change everything. And now finding one is easy with Eye on the Ball. Doesn't matter if you're a kid just starting out or competing at the top level, like GOAT at the Windy City Bulls tryout.
Flex.
You can sign up totally free at eyeontheball.net. Create your profile, search through coaches in your sport, and connect directly with one that is right for you. From soccer to swimming, baseball to basketball, you name it, the coaches are there for all of those sports. So what are you waiting for? Your future coach could be one click away. Jump on today at eyeontheball.net. That's IEYE on the ball.net. Find your coach and take your game to the next level.
You know who just texted me to talk about this Giddey deal?
Baby Joey?
Nope.
Oh, who?
He don't text. My man Ray.
Ray!
My man Ray from Ray Chevrolet just hit me up talking about the Giddey deal, sir. But he's got those prices for you, ladies and gentlemen, on some awesome vehicles, because the Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lakes is slashing prices on new cars and giving you big savings all month long. Thank you, Joey. Come in today to shop the model year end sales event and drive home with employee pricing on every new Chevy model. You can get $3,000 to $11,000 off MSRP, or check out their selection of over 125 vehicles priced under $20,000. With one of Chicagoland's largest Chevy inventories, you're sure to find the perfect vehicle for yourself. And as one of the top Chevy dealers in the Midwest, they're able to keep their prices competitive, so you know you're going to get a great deal. And of course, they got that raised price promise that lets you shop confidently, because the price you see is the price you're going to pay. And don't miss out on their model year-end sales event going on all month long for employee pricing on every new Chevy model. Shop Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake or RayChevrolet.com. They've been serving the community since 1963. Together, let's drive over to Josh Giddey's house and make him pay for Uber Eats.
Yeah, Josh Giddey's buying dinner tonight.
Yes.
For the whole city of Chicago. We roll along CHGO Bulls live, reacting to the Josh Giddey news. What up, Joey C?
What up, gentlemen? If you could, I have a question for you guys. Let's imagine this is a town hall, and I'm just standing up with my hand raised as a concerned Bull citizen.
Those are getting feisty.
Okay, here we go.
Town halls.
So my question, my question for the group is, I think everyone or anyone can make a compelling case that Josh Giddey is an ascending player. And Shams in the tweet just said that he was a Chicago Bulls cornerstone.
Yep.
But when you talk about a flat $25 million for the next 4 years, and we also talk about how Art Carney likes to roster build with guys that go 12 deep. As a Bulls fan, should I be worried that this might prohibit the Chicago Bulls either through the draft, maybe not even free agency, but the draft more specifically, because they're not going to tank to get in the lottery.
They are not.
But instead of finding maybe the next Donovan Mitchell, and we all know that in basketball, you want that ball dominant top 10 type player.
Sure.
Do you think this would maybe prohibit the Bulls from trying to target more backcourt help in the years to come, because Josh Giddey is now at this number?
It's an interesting question.
Very.
And first and most importantly, shout out for Art Carney.
Thank you. That was what my brain was too.
That is the
Like,
first
this dude's
time I have
Art
heard
Carney.
that nickname for Bulls VP of basketball, Arturas
Shout out
Carney.
Art
Art Carney. For a second, my brain was like, who the fuck is Art Carney? What? Oh, you're talking about AK.
Shout out Honeymoon.
Does this Giddey contract impact potentially other managerial moves for AK and his 9 to 10 good players plan moving forward? Parentheses, let's have some patience, Bulls fans. No. Look, my cynical answer is no, it doesn't change it.
Okay.
The only thing it changes is who are you keeping and paying now between Kobe White and Ayo Dosunmu? Because I don't think it can be both. But if you're talking about cap space and pursuing free agents next summer, when the Bulls now with Josh Giddey, it's like Josh, Pat, a few others, like their books are clean in 26.
Sure.
Obviously Okoro adjusts that a little bit. Trey Jones adjusts that a little bit, but maybe even in the free agency of 27 looking ahead while Josh is still here under contract, but you go and swing big. My cynical answer is it doesn't change it because the Bulls aren't pursuing any big free agents. Or even if they do pursue them, they don't land them. So I was like, no, let's pay a mid contract to a mid player 9 to 10 times. That's the plan.
They like the guys that they have, and they feel like they're going with a younger core. So I think they will go after some free agent, but like you said, it's about the free agent wanting to come here, wanting to be on the scene. We don't know that, but maybe I feel like this is part of the plan, Joey C. Like I really do. I feel like this part of their plan was to sign Josh Giddey, and then when those books are clean, go after someone and see, if they can, get that player, and if not, continue on the same course that they're on for this year. I think, and see, well, hopefully there'll be some positive growth. And you'll see players, ascending a little bit more. Hopefully, Modest will be a little better. Hopefully, Giddey will be more consistent, in what he's providing on the floor. You'll have more answers as far as Kobe White and Ayo Dosunmu are concerned. Nikola Vucevic won't be here, so obviously you'll put another center in that aspect. So it'll answer those kind of questions. But in the end, they're gonna have to go get somebody because a lot of dudes are on 1-year deals here. And they won't be here, and so those books will be super clean, which means so will their roster. So they've got to fill it out with some kind of players, man. But that big name, I'm sure they're going to go after it, but we'll see how it lands. Go.
Yeah, I mean, I think it prevents them from getting that guy in the draft. Like, this is not a situation where you're going to be able to, and not saying they should or will, but like, this is not a team that's going to tank now. Like, just plain and simple, they're going to be too good. And I'm not saying that they're going to be too good, meaning they're going to compete for a championship, because I don't think that's the case. But I think they're going to be in that same play-in range that they have been the last couple of years. And while it's possible to jump up in the draft, it's also possible to draft 11th or 12th every year. And it's really tough to find guys that turn into star players that way. So we talk a lot about, like, there's 3 ways to build a roster: draft, trade, and free agency. If you're not going to be real players in the draft, you got to do it through trade or free agency. We have not seen this front office, Art Carney, as you say, make any big trades since, DeRozan, Vucevic, and Lonzo Ball in 2021. So I don't know that that's really in the cards, although we have talked a little bit about how that could be and maybe should be an option towards the trade deadline. But free agency is really going to have to be it. And I think the real thing to remember here, though, is like, this team is now being built around Giddey. Like, Giddey is going to be that guy. And it's sort of on him now to be the star player that we're talking about them finding, because, Giddey is not like an incredibly high usage player by the numbers, but like, he has the ball in his hands a lot. And when he doesn't, you're playing 4-on-5. We saw that multiple times throughout the second half of the year, even when he was playing well, and he made teams pay by shooting 47% on threes. That's not a sustainable number. Can he improve there? And will he continue to get better? I would imagine and hope so. But I think ultimately, like, this is a bet that, Giddey's not a max player, but he's kind of their version of a max player because of how he plays and how much he needs the ball. And so I think a big piece of this is a bet on Giddey to become that guy, and then filling out the roster with guys that can complement him. And that's a challenge because you need two-way players. You need, defense, three-point shooting, rim protection, athleticism. And look, it's the NBA. Like, guys like that exist. They're just hard to find. And oftentimes you have to pay, handsomely in terms of draft picks in order to get them. And again, we just haven't really seen Arturas do that for years. So I think once we have more time to go through this, and I'll look through my, cap sheet, and we can talk more about like what the options are going to be this summer, how that affects things. But I do think that, especially with Kobe and Ayo coming up on their deals now, I think that's immediately what we have to turn our attention towards, is how good can Giddey be, and what does this mean for Kobe and Ayo and the rest of the roster build here moving forward.
You talking about it being like the Bulls version of a max player, max contract. Worth noting, and shout out to Queen Katie for pointing this out in our sidebar. Josh Giddey's 4-100 is just the second deal in Bulls history that has reached that, triple digit 100 mil or more level. The other, of course, being Zach LaVine's max contract when he re-signed after that second All-Star season.
Wow.
So that's, it's big money, but it's Jerry big money. The second time. And average annual salary also, Katie pointing out, this deal makes Giddey the 28th highest paid point guard in terms of average annual value, tied with Fred VanVleet. And I think somebody in the comments just pointed out something similar, like Viper Strike Zero. This is a low contract for a starting point guard in the last 2 years, at least. So again, there are plenty of point guards in the NBA, elite point guards, who are making not only twice this amount of $25 million annually, but like verging between 2 and 3 times the most recently re-signed supermax level star players
Yeah.
are flirting in now the 60 to 70 mil a year range.
Right. Right.
So again, it all comes down to production and whether or not Giddey, as your centerpiece, as your cornerstone, one of them at least, is a plan that leads to wins. That's what it's all about. Because if it's Josh Giddey playing post All-Star break version of himself and the Bulls are winning, then this contract is a home run.
Without
but
a doubt.
if the Josh Giddey and / 9 to 10 other good players around him experiment results in more play-in tournament appearances and not much else, then this is a waste of a contract.
So now I look at it because everything that I've seen them do or what they're aspiring to do, I equate to the Indiana Pacers because that's the team that they said they are trying to kind of emulate.
Dysfunctional just said, we're the Pacers, Peck.
Yeah. So I'm looking at it in the sense of now Tyrese Halliburton, that's your Josh Giddey, and maybe they think of Modest as their Pascal Siakam.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the case, then you'll just be filling out the rest of the rosters with other guys that can fit those guys in particular and not big names.
7 to 8 good players.
Yes, correct. 7 to 8, not your 9 to 10. But that's what you look at this now and kind of how you do it.
Yeah.
Because it won't be that big swing on a big free agent type. If this is how they're going about it and looking at it, it will be on guys that have, shout out Liam Neeson, a particular set of skills that can fit what Josh Giddey does, that can fit what Modest Buzelis does. You put Noah Essengay in there as well. There's hopes, of his, growing and him ascending and things like that. So paying guys lesser money who can probably do one thing really, really well might be part of the formula for the book. Because you're right, when Goat is saying you need this, and all of that is facts. But I think the Bulls are looking at it like, no, we got our two guys. We saw what Indiana did. We can build around, and whatever, whether it's offense or defense that those guys do well, we can build around Josh Giddey and help him, and quell some of those deficiencies that he has and quell some of those deficiencies that Modest Buzelis has, if this is how they're going about it and how they're looking at it. Because from the outside looking in, that's how it looks to me now, Goat. It looks like this is how they're setting up their Indiana Pacers kind of roster.
Yeah, and I think there's two ways to look at that. Number one is, the optimistic approach where, if you think Giddey is Halliburton and Modest is Siakam, then you're getting a huge discount on those guys, right? I mean, Halliburton is making $45 million this year. He's a 30% max guy. Giddey is now like a 15% contract. So if you are thinking that Giddey can be as good as Halliburton, or at least elevate your team in the same way that Halliburton is, you're getting 20% savings on the salary cap that you can use to spend elsewhere. Modest is still on a rookie scale deal. I think it's going to be a while before he gets to be as good as Siakam if he can. But I mean, the difference between $40 million a year and 5 is obviously pretty huge. So if you're looking at it through the optimistic lens and you think those guys can be your version, especially sooner on these particular deals than later on their next extensions, then you have all that additional money to go out there and kind of overspend on the Andrew Nemhards and Aaron Nesmiths and Miles Turners of your roster, which you might need to do because it's hard to get those guys. And so this is opportunity if you feel like those guys can be that good. If you are looking at it through the pessimistic lens and you feel like, similar style of play, but they can't reach that level of production, now you're looking at a roster where, look, I mean, they've got similarities. The Bulls are playing a style that they want to play. But at the end of the day, if you're paying for lack of a better term, a poor man's version of Halliburton and a poor man's version of Siakam, you're just going to be a poor man's version of the Pacers. And the Pacers are a good team. They've been to the conference finals, 2 times in a row, right? And the finals, like, they're a really good team. And maybe quote unquote poor man's version of that is a consistent playoff team that gets to the first or second round. So maybe that's okay for what the Bulls want. But I do think that those are kind of the two, that's kind of like the bet they're making, with the downside being, maybe we're just a play-in team, or maybe we're just a first round out team.
Well, it can't be a poor man's version, Goat, because Artie Karn is paid pretty well, as far as I understand and assume. So that's a rich man. It's a rich man's version of the Pacers.
I also like saying Arturas Carna sample size.
Carna sample size?
Carna sample size.
Joey.
Artur's continuity.
Hey, Joey C.
Katie also found this came from Twitter, 6 Rings of Steel, pointing out Giddey's new contract will now make him tied for the 72nd highest paid player in the NBA this coming season. Some of the names in that $26 to $24 million range, you got Draymond Green, Nicholas Claxton, freshly signed with the Bucks, defecting from the Pacers, Miles Turner at just over $25 million. Miles Bridges, Trey Murphy III, Fred VanVleet, as we already mentioned, Mikal Bridges at just shy of 25, DeMar DeRozan, our old friend, just shy of 25. So $25 million per year, Naz Reid, Draymond, Anthony Simons, John Collins. So there you see it on your screen right there. To me, again, it's about the Bulls version of a max player and a poor man's version of the Indiana Pacers roster building philosophy.
Yes.
Because Josh Giddey seems to be right in fitting into that group of players when you're talking about caliber of player. It also, a different lens is NBA 2K ratings, which we discussed not that long ago. And Kobe White and Josh Giddey, both in NBA 2K like grade rating and then ranking of the top 100 in the NBA, were in that like high 60s, low 70s range. So whether you're talking about how a player is paid versus how good they are, that's where I get hung up as a Bulls fan in believing in this process and this plan. Because if Josh Giddey and also needs to get paid now, Kobe White are paid like a top 75 player, but not a top 30 player, and they're adequately paid that way because they are ranked as far as the best players in the league, top 75, but not top 30, not even top 50.
Yeah.
Though, if those are the highest paid players and the best players on your team, then where's your team going?
Yeah.
That's my question. That's always been my freaking question.
Yeah, and I think like the issue with that as a comparison is not, Naz Reid and John Collins are making $25 million a year, so Giddey has to be more or less than that. The issue is those guys are like elite role players or like high level core pieces, but they're like the third or fourth or fifth guy on the roster. And yeah, if they could be the first or second guy, the way that maybe Giddey can be, then you're getting a steal of a deal. The problem is, if you can't be that, then you have to be able to scale down into a role that is high level complementary piece. And that I think is the core of the question that a lot of people, the other piece of the core of the question that a lot of people have a problem with Giddey is that, yes, we're not sure about his ability to like really elevate and get to number 1 or even number 2 as like the lead guy on a good team. But I think almost as concerning is he's not able to scale down to the fourth or fifth guy because of his deficiencies shooting the ball, because of his deficiency on the defensive end. He's not someone that you can really scale down. So it doesn't go from like he's the second or first best player on a good team to, well, maybe now he's like the third or fourth starter. It's like he's got to be the sixth man running the second unit. And now that's an overpay for what he is. So I said Giddey like needs to get to all-star level because he's basically, regardless of what he's being paid, he is kind of operating as the Bulls all-star piece. I think the other way that he can make this a value contract is if he becomes all-star level role player where he's really improved as a shooter. He's able to get the shot off more consistently, faster, and forces teams to defend him when he's off the ball. And then he also improves on the defensive end because now if he does those two things, whether he's the all-star player or not, the Bulls still need to answer that question. But whether he reaches that height or not, he's still able to make an impact as a role player, as a complementary piece, which right now, I don't think he really can. And that's why he was played off the court in the fourth quarter of a handful of games. And that's why the Heat targeted him on defense every single time down the court in the play-in. Like, I think he's a talented player, and he's got way more upside than a Naz Reid or a John Collins. But he's also got a lot more downside because of his inability to scale into a role player type of role.
Two things. One, please, thank y'all for joining us for this emergency pod right here. But please hit the like button. I just saw what Katie just said. It said, please hit the like button, or I swear to God, I'm going to lose it. Please.
We don't want Katie to lose it.
You don't want her to lose it, man.
Please hit the like button.
For all of our sakes here, I'm trying to save y'all, man. Hit the like button. Thank y'all for being here. This is really fun. The second thing, what does this mean, if anything? What does this mean for Kobe White and Ayo Dosunmu. As far as both of those guys, 1 year left on their deals. We saw what Kobe did, coming into the offseason as far as he's the conference player of the month. We know big money is on the table for him. Ayo Dosunmu, I assume he's going to get a nice check as well. What does this contract, though, say to them? And does it mean anything at all?
It's possible. I think in the same way we were talking about Emmanuel Quickley's deal and Jalen Suggs' contract as, the target for what Giddey was after, I think in some ways you could view this as the Bulls resetting that market for the type of player that, Giddey is or that Kobe is. And so in that sense, maybe this is now the bar of what Kobe's going to make. Like, obviously, he's got a full season to prove himself. And if he plays like he did in March last year, I think he's going to be worth a lot more than that. But if he doesn't, we've talked a lot about the marketplace for, non-primary scoring / facilitating guards who also aren't like elite defensively, just not really being there. And so, $25 million a year for Kobe, that's a ton of money. And maybe it ends up being a similar contract and they kind of view those guys through a similar lens of like, these are guys that we want to build with that are going to be huge, core pieces for us. But certainly are not like max 30% max caliber players. And this allows us to add depth and build out our team that way. So I think this could mean sort of the baseline expectation of what Kobe could get. Now, the years, I think, is what's going to be interesting because as we learned over the last few years with Vooch's deal extending beyond DeMar and Caruso's and Zach's deal extended beyond both of those, it does really make sense to have those contracts end at the same time so that you can align as a cap space team in whatever year you decide. And so if Kobe signs a 4-year deal next summer, then his deal will extend a year beyond Giddey's. And yeah, you may retain Giddey, but it doesn't open up a bunch of cap space for you to be able to play with and sign free agents to add to that. It just makes it a little bit harder. So does that mean you're signing Kobe to a 3-year deal to match up with that? And if so, are you getting enough value on those 3 years? As we talked about with Giddey, where like the value can be on the out years of the contract, maybe it makes more sense to do it that way. So I do think that in some ways, to answer your question, getting Giddey on a number that not only they felt comfortable with for him, but that they felt comfortable with as sort of a proxy or a projection of what Kobe could make, I do think that is potentially a piece of this.
People hanging out in the chat with us, Viper Strike, as far as the question about now what with Kobe White, saying the Bulls should just give him a bunch of money to sponsor somebody planting trees. You can go the alleged Steve Ballmer and Kawhi Leonard route.
Emma's right
if
here.
you need to come up with some. I'm sorry.
Right
Emma, I'm so sorry. You're being so helpful today. I'm sorry. It's okay. Hey, at least you have an owner who tries to do shady stuff to pay the best players in the league to play for your team. I would love it if Jerry was in hot water right now for finding weird, shady side streets to pay elite level Kawhi Leonard type talent instead of talking about Kobe White or Josh Giddey being our highest paid and best player for the next several years. What were we talking about?
And he blacked out, ladies and gentlemen. That's where he went. So I want to get back to this though, man. Like, again, it's so on Josh Giddey. I can't say it enough how much it is on Josh Giddey this season, man. They gave him the bag, as the children say. They gave him a check, as the grown folks say. He got paid, as everyone says. Mm-hmm. And the fact that it's like that, and it's not really so much that, it's the role that he plays on this team. It's what he does for this team. He is the engine. He is the one that makes it all go. So when it's that way, and you're what I feel is the most important position in basketball, which is the point guard position, it's always been like that for me. And when it's that guy who you're paying, then it's on you. Like, everything is on you, man. All of it. And I mean every bit of it. You have to look the part, walk the part, act the part, talk the part, all of it. Like, your team and how they play offensively, because I'm just saying offensively. I'm not even going to go to the defense, on that. But part of that will be on you too, for sure. but offensively, you're the engine. Everything is going to have to go like that. So if it's not looking good, that's who they're going to look at first is you. It's not going to be somebody's missing shots. I'm going to be like, well, you didn't get him open. You know, like where were you on rotations? You know, like how come this player didn't know they were supposed to be on this side of the basketball? All of that I'm putting directly on Josh Giddey because it will be like that from day one for me because the Bulls have made the commitment and said, you are the man. Well, if you are the man, then I'm going to treat you like the man should be treated, man, and put all that stuff on you, on those shoulders. I think personally he can respond to that. I thought he was going to have, I've said before, I think he's going to have a good season this year for the Chicago Bulls. But I will be watching it like a hawk, man, from game one. And he will be scrutinized and praised, you know, how it goes, you know, and like that. And so he's taking a lot of burden for sure, in my opinion, of the criticism and those things off of guys like Billy Donovan. And it's put it directly back on Josh Giddey. I've said a million times that I think Billy Donovan loves point guards. He's got to have a point guard to run his offense now. Well, here it is. You know what I'm saying? Look at that lineage of point guards that have run the offense for a guy like Billy Donovan, Chris Paul, you know what I mean? Like Russell Westbrook. You want to throw SGA in there, you can, but he was there learning. But, man, he comes from a nice long lineage of having a point guard on his team to run things for him. This and Lonzo Ball.
I was going to say, and healthy Lonzo Ball for half the season.
Look at what that looked like.
He made everything else around him work.
Yes, and heaps of praise were put on his shoulders because of it.
Mm-hmm.
And now it is on Josh Giddey the same kind of way. Will he get that heap of praise or will he get those heaps of criticism? But it's on him, bro, and that's what it is.
Yeah, and I want to echo that too because I feel like I've raised a lot of the questions that I have with this deal, and like I think they're fair, legitimate questions. But I also think that like at the end of the day, he did play really well down the stretch, and it wasn't just like hot shooting, although that was a piece of it. It was like an improved, attention to driving and getting to the foul line. The rebounding was like outstanding. That allowed the Bulls to push the pace. Obviously, like the game winners and stuff like that, but like when he was playing at his best, like the Bulls played with an energy that we really haven't seen since like the original Lonzo Ball days, and I'm not sure that can sustain at that same level just because of a lot of like luck that was going into it. But I do think that they were in a position where like you can't just like bail out on that right now. And that's part of the issue with like trading for a guy, in the last year of his rookie scale deal. Like you just don't have a ton of time to evaluate things. But I do think that he played really well. I do think that he addressed some of the questions that I have about his style of play. And I think that he earned an opportunity to keep it going with this team because they were playing well. And so I am optimistic that he can keep getting better. I know he's only 22 years old thing has been thrown around a lot. And I'm typically more of a person that looks at like body of work and years in the league. But we have seen improvement. And so I think if he's able to keep getting better, and to your point, Dave, like show that, from day one and prove that he's able to do that. I think this can be a steal of a contract. If he can't, then I think the Bulls are going to be sort of in trouble in that way. But it's not a situation where he's just going to like completely turn into a pumpkin and not give you anything because he can impact the game in a handful of different ways. So I'm glad that this is done. Like I feel like it was strung on way too long for something that was just going to end up in the middle anyway. I'm glad that it's over. I'm glad that we can talk about it in terms of how it affects the Bulls on the court this year and moving forward. But I do think that like if he just plays well, it doesn't need to be as good as he was last year. But like if he keeps doing the things that helped him get to that level, whether the outcome is the same, I think that will be worth it. So he's got to keep improving. This is not like, okay, great, you made your money, now you can chill. Like he's got to get better. But I do think the Bulls are now in a situation where he's going to be able to do that. It's his team. He's got the ball in his hands. He's going to be the one. And so he's going to have an opportunity to do that and prove that, to your point, that like he can still compete at that level.
A few more comments before we wrap things up. James pointing out it's basically the original Lonzo Ball deal with inflation. Lonzo's was 480. This is 4100. And if you're talking about the overlap of what Lonzo brought when healthy and Giddey, a non-traditional sort of creative pass first guard to push the pace and spray out to open shooters. It's what Lonzo did when he was healthy. It's what we saw Josh Giddey do very well down the stretch. David Lithgow, one of our regulars, shouting out, saying a fabulous deal. Let's go get that 6 seed. Okay. Shoot for the stars, Bulls Nation. Appreciate you tuning in, Dave. Also wanted to quickly point out before we get out of here, the cool news that CHGO Sports YouTube channel is now a channel where you can become a member. And there are 2 different monthly members levels, the $5 a month MVP tier and the $15 Hall of Fame tier. If you're watching the shows on your desktop or a non-mobile device, you'll see that subscribe button with the plus next to it just under the show title. Then you can click and see those MVP and Hall of Fame options. If you are watching on mobile, we can throw a link in the chat for you to join more easily that way. But it's a cool new feature that a lot of YouTube channels are doing. We can do like emojis. It's sort of like the Twitch version or the YouTube version of Twitch's whatever you call them. Stickers, like Twitch stickers. Also access to members-only posts, members-only polls, priority comments. The Hall of Fame tier gives you all of that stuff from the MVP tier, plus access to members-only videos and shout-outs. So sign up now to become a CHGO Sports YouTube channel official member, so you can be one of those cool people that you see with those cool little decals and stuff. I also was told by Steven, one of the emojis, like the moving emojis, is a hat throw emoji.
Isn't that awesome?
I'm very excited about that.
Shout out to you, bro. There's no goat emoji. There's no emoji for me either.
There should be a quaff emoji.
Yeah.
And just like a, screw this noise, I'm going to put in my headphones emoji.
Yeah,
that's the Big Dave emoji.
Oh, yeah.
No, I want a hug. I want a big hug emoji from Big Dave.
The hug emoji, yes.
My child could be the emoji. My child on there for sure.
Your BB-8?
Yes.
Yeah. What's your emoji, Joey?
What's my emoji?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I don't know. Talk to me in 3 weeks after the Cubs
Okay.
or do not in the playoffs.
So stressed.
I got you. Also, I mean, Goat just ran his hand through his beautiful hair.
Yes.
Could be that for the quaff, but also I feel like Goats could be him going like shrugging.
Yeah.
Hate to tell you. That's a solid emoji.
I got some bad news for you.
Yeah.
I'm pulling the 3 too. Or on the Papa shot.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, the Papa shot. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that score.
Let's just keep it simple. It's a goat.
Mike in the comments, 25 mil a year is an absolute steal.
Okay.
There's some positivity. Look, I think general consensus of what I've seen from the comments, Bulls fans are like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
4 years, 25 per. Go prove it.
Go prove
That's
it.
kind of where I am right now, too.
It's on.
As a Giddey skeptic, could have been worse. Would have liked it to be fewer years and fewer dollars, but I didn't think it was going to be fewer years and fewer dollars. So here we are.
Congratulations to him, man. Like, congratulations. You got your money. You're in the city you want to be in the position you want to be in. Now it's time to go do it. Time to go do it, baby. Training camps around the corner.
Do it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, shout out to my best friend in the internet, the Undisputed, who said, good God, man, Peck is insufferable. Hey, you got a break from me for a week and a half, but I'm back, baby. Thanks for tuning in. Hit the like button for this unsufferable chattering. We'll be back tomorrow at our regular time, 4 p.m. Central. Shout out to everybody for hopping on early for our emergency pod today. Follow the GOAT, Will_Gottlieb. Read his stuff, allchgo.com. Become a diehard so you can read that stuff. Big Dave, bow. AWL Sports, Bulls_Peck. We are CHGO_Bulls. Shout out to everybody working behind the scenes today, working hard. Joey C. leaping into action.
Giddey
Katie, not supposed to be producing Bulls today. She's producing and helping in remotely. Emma on the side producer's chair with all the social stuff. Everybody pulling stats and whatnot. Appreciate everybody here. Appreciate you out there in Bulls Nation. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. We'll see you tomorrow. See you, Be good.
Love y'all, man.
Giddey!
Peace. Congratulations. For real.
We all silly like the mayor.